Application scripts. In this module, we'll explore some application of some application scripts which we can use in our day-to-day scripting. First, we'll see how we can add some professional menu in the script. So to do this, we have a command called select. So the syntax is select cart. Cart is the variable in our list. Like we have provided some shopping lists called Amazon, Flipkart, and local. We'll check these options to the loop using case condition. Then do echo you have selected the cart. The input provided by you will be stored by this cat variable. To write a case condition, the statement would be case $cart in. Our first option is Amazon. So if Amazon is selected, we'll be printing let's go for Amazon. If Flipkart is selected, we'll printing let's go for Flipkart. If local is selected, we'll print let's go for local. Anything else is given as input, then it will print the error and give us to select the options between 1 and 3, the number of options available in our cart. Let's try to execute this. So select and shopping options, we select 1. It is saying let's go to Amazon. If we select 2, it will say let's go to Flipkart. Let's select 5. So we have selected a wrong option, so it is giving us the error. Please select an option from 1 to 3. In this way, we can add different menu options to our script so that we can select the menu from command line and do the action as per requirement. Now let's write a script where we'll be waiting for the user input and perform the action as per user input. So to do this, while true, so this loop will be processed infinitely. Do read minus T3 key. Minus T3 represents this loop will be repeated every 3 seconds and will take the input in the variable called key. If $question equal to 0, then echo you have asked to terminate script, means whatever input you have given and it is read by key, then we'll be exiting the script. Otherwise, we'll keep waiting for the user to press some kind of input. So it is saying press any key to continue. Let's wait. In 3 seconds it prints waiting for user input. Press any key. Let's press a key. Now you have asked to terminate the script. The script is terminated. In this way, you can take user inputs to use different options and take actions accordingly. That's all about some menus and weights while writing professional scripts. In the next lecture, we'll see how we can modularize a script. Modularizing a script. Like any other programming languages, we can create scripts that are reusable, or we can use the functions from a script and use it in another script. This way, you can modularize the scripts as well as reduce code repeatability. We have written a script called utils.sh. Within that, we have defined two functions. One is mylog for printing the logs, and another is test underscore string. Another is test underscore string. This will just take inputs as strings and print them. To use the functions from this script, first we have to source the utils.sh file in this script. We can do this by command source /utils.sh or /utils.sh. So this file is sourced within our script. In the script, we have defined a file, defined a variable as log file. Then we'll call these two functions which are in the utils.sh. Mylog testing modularizing, then test underscore string with two options, hello and user. It should be printing hello and user. So let's execute this script. So it is printing testing modularizing script and hello user. Though we do not have these functions defined in our script, but these functions are sourced from utils.sh. In this way, you can write any kind of scripts and source within another script so that you can use those functions or variables. This will reduce the repeatability of code. That's all about this lecture. In the next lecture, we'll see how we can use config parsing in the script. Config parsing. So let's say we are writing an application. We'll be taking different inputs. So you cannot provide those many number of inputs directly from the scripts. To do this effectively, we can write a config file where we'll be defining our parameters and with their values. Then we'll be reading that config file from our script and perform different actions using those parameters or values. Let's say we have defined our config in a file called myconfig.cfg. You can add any kind of extension. So here we have defined two configs: user, location, app, and hostname. So you have given some kind of values which is editable by the user. In our config parsing script, we're taking this config file as input. We have written a function called pass_config. This pass_config will take the parameter of this file, parameter myconfig.cfg, as an input. Then we'll read that config file. Using cat filter, we'll split each and every line in the config file and store into a temporary file. Then we'll be sourcing that temporary file. So in this way, in all the configs will be exported inside our script as variables. So inside the script, we can use those variables and do whatever actions we want to do with those variables. So we have called this function passConfig with the parameter myconfig file. After this, all the variables within the config will be available. So you're just printing those variables: echo, user, application, home directory, and location. Let's execute the script. Config parsing. Here you see all the variables we have defined inside the config file is available within our script. In this way, you can create your config file and use those configs within the script so that it will be effectively used. Also, the config files is easily editable by any user for different type of scenarios. That's all about config parsing. In the next lecture, we'll see how we can use the feature of curl for remote downloading of data and process those data. Curl. It is used for downloading data from a remote server and use those data for our work. So let's see how we can do a get call using curl. So the command is curl -as. This is the address where our API is available. Just a simple call command to get the data from the hosted API. Our command is successful, then we'll just print call is successful. Otherwise, we'll say call is failed. Due to some reason, let's say due to some reason the host is not reachable or any kind of our API is wrong, then we might get unsuccessful command. So we'll then print the get call is failed. Let's execute the script. So here you see the call command gets the data from the remote server. Since the data fetching is successful, then we are getting get call is successful. Like the get call, we can do a post call so that we can add some data to the remote server. How we can do this? Using a curl command. So the options would be curl -k -x, capital X, then post, then give the remote server API location, then --data @data.json. Input is a JSON file, -h, where we'll be providing the headers. So basically this post API takes data in the form of JSON. So we have to provide this kind of header and the data in JSON format. We'll see our data. This is just adding a new employee called test with salary this and age this to our API. You'll see our API call is success, so our data is added to our server. In this way, you can use get and post calls to access data remotely from a server and post data through API. So these are basically the application of APIs. Next, we'll see so how we can manipulate this JSON data. So when we are doing a get call or post call, we're getting some kind of JSON responses. So let's see how we can manipulate these JSON responses within shell scripts or bash scripts. So to do this, we have a utility called JQ. If you do not have this utility installed, you can install it on a system and use these applications for handling the JSON data effectively. Let's see how our data looks in the JSON format. So we are doing a call to get call to a remote server, and with the help of a pipe, we are giving the data as an input to a JQ command. Here you see our response is printed in a pretty format. That's the beauty of JQ, where you can see the data in the pretty format and get or extract data directly from the response without using any kind of programming languages. Let's try to get the record of the first employees and save it to a file called response.json. To do that, we have to give options to JQ as -r, then dot data, and in the index we will be giving 0. So the first index will be printed. We're giving data because the list name is data and it is an array. So the first index will be saving into a file. Let's check the response file. So here you will see response is saved as a JSON file. Now let's extract some data from this JSON response and store it into a variable. To do this, we'll be giving options -jq r dot data. Data is our list, 0 is the index name, dot employee underscore name. This is one of the variable in the list. So the value of the employee underscore name will be stored in our variable called employee. We can print that value. Hello Tiger Nixon. So this is the employee name we have extracted using JQ from the response. In this way, you can use curl and JQ to process the API responses or remote server call responses and play with the data. That's all about curl and JSON uses. Let's summarize what we have learned in this module called the application of professional scripts. So here we have learned different how we can write menus in the shell script, how we can wait for the menus in the shell script, the way we can modularize scripts so that there would be less repeatability of code and effective way of managing the scripts. Then we have learned config passing, where we can use the scripts to pass values from a config and use it in our application. Then we have learned curl and JQ utility to handle remote server call and process the JSON data received from remote server call. This brings to the end of this module called professional scripting options. In the next module, we'll see how we can debug bash scripts.